Hello everyone, this is Venkatesh. Welcome to Venkat's Tech Talk. In today's presentation, I'm going to talk about software design pattern, which is commonly referred as design pattern. Okay, today we have a lot of articles, blog posts, professional books on design pattern. What exactly this presentation is going to cover? I'll explain about that. In my experience, I see a couple of challenges with in terms of learning or practicing design pattern. One is appreciating the benefits and value of design pattern. Because design pattern or design principle is not a programming language or it's not a software development tool where a developer needs to learn to build an application. In fact, developer will be able to build an application and get the intended application functionality without even following design pattern or design principle. In fact, it will be difficult for a developer to get convinced that it has some value because they will be able to achieve without following these things. So in this presentation, I'm going to explain why we need to care about design pattern, what exact benefit it offers by explaining some real-time IT scenario examples. And second challenge is learning the design pattern with respective to real-time and more professional examples. So when someone starts learning design pattern, they will be able to understand the design pattern theoretically. So it is not difficult. We can understand what is design pattern, what are all the individual design patterns that are available, and also we will be able to understand the examples of those design pattern with an hello world kind of example. But in my experience, I see a bit challenge with that one. So we need to really understand the benefit in or the practical usage of the design pattern in a real time perspective. So these hello world kind of example will not be sufficient to get motivated. So what I discovered as part of my learning is uh, learning the design pattern from some professional framework and get understand it so that we can get inspired by looking at how it is implemented. So what I found is we have .NET base class library, which is a very common developer framework for developing applications. So that .NET base class library extensively uses design pattern within it. So we are going to look into the base class library to understand what are all the design patterns it's used within it and how it is used. So by this way we will be able to learn it in a real time perspective, and also learning this way helps us to discover the motivation behind why it was designed in such a way. And moreover, some of the design patterns are exposed as a programming language features where developer would be using it without even realizing that they are implementing a design pattern as a programming language feature. So uh, I personally felt that I learned a lot about design pattern when I looked into the .NET base class library. And this doesn't just applies to .NET as well. It can be applied in Java framework as well. If you look at the Java SDK, you will identify similar kind of patterns used within the Java SDK libraries. So I'm going to explain what are all the design patterns it is used, how it is used, and those kind of things so that we can learn it better. And other common challenge with terms of design pattern is articulating the design pattern with respect to real-time professional project usage. So this is a very common thing happens for a developer, like when they go to a technical interview or when they engage into a deep technical discussion on design pattern, discussion will very frequently turn towards the topics like, can you explain about the design pattern you used in your project, or what is your favorite design pattern, or can you give an example of how design pattern brought some benefits to your project, and those kind of things. So it will be very challenging for any developer to answer these kind of questions, especially articulating the usage in their project, if they haven't really followed it and if they just know um, the design patterns in a theoretical perspective. But there are something that we can do to handle the situation. So I'm going to guide how you can generally articulate the design pattern usage from your project experience. So because there are it's very common that you would have handled some patterns in your project that but you haven't identified them. So I'm going to give some tips on how to identify some of the project patterns used in a project, what are all the common patterns we can see in any project, and how we can articulate them in this kind of technical discussion. That is one other important thing that I am going to cover as part of this presentation. Okay, so agenda here is we appreciating the benefits and value of design pattern, and I'll be also talking about the design principles, especially solid principles, and we are going to see about the design pattern usage in .NET based class library. Okay, so I see two level of design pattern knowledge among the developer community. One is articulating knowledge, and other end is appreciating and practicing level of knowledge, or as two maturity levels or knowledge levels, however you want to see. So articulating knowledge is nothing but knowing the definition of design pattern, like a wiki definition, able to describe the design pattern, able to list the design patterns, couple of items, a couple of the patterns they want to talk about, and able to define and give hello world kind of examples. So it is just basically having the skill to articulate the design pattern, but not with not having a real time and implementation knowledge of design pattern. So couple of challenges with articulating level of skill is we'll have some difficulty in identifying a pattern in a given code, and also ability to think the solution in terms of pattern. On the other end, appreciating and practicing level of knowledge will show the strong understanding on the concepts and more passionate about this technology, and they will be able to talk with passion, and able to identify the pattern, design pattern used in a code, and also able to think the solution and apply patterns in any given solution. So intention of this tutorial is, if anyone is in articulating level of knowledge, just we want to empower them with the appreciating and practicing level of knowledge by providing all sort of information and examples as part of this presentation. Okay, so end goal of this lecture is understanding the purpose and of design pattern and why it exists, gain some deep understanding and realize the value of design pattern, and also have the ability to show high confidence examples of design pattern just without just basic animal or vehicle examples, just able to show the examples from the project perspective or from a very professional framework perspective, and also how to articulate project experience in terms of design pattern. Okay, let us see what exactly is design pattern according to the definition. Let us look at the definition of design pattern, which is according to the wiki. So it reads out like this: in software engineering, a software design pattern is a general reusable solution to a commonly occurring problem within a given context in software design. Okay, so if you look at the definition, it's very self-explanatory. It talks about key things like it's applied in the field of software engineering. Software design pattern is a reusable solution to a commonly occurring problem with the given context in the software design. So the thing is, software design pattern is not a solution for a code, it is a solution for software design. So that is one key thing we need to remember, and it is a reusable solution for commonly occurring problem. So self-explanatory, not cryptic, very clear to understand. But as we progress with further chapters, I'll explain about what is the commonly occurring, what are all those commonly occurring problems, and what are all those reusable solution. We'll be looking at that when we discuss about each individual design pattern in the upcoming session, upcoming slides. So further, wiki drills down two more points with the definition of design pattern. It is a description or template for how to solve a problem that can be used in many different situations. Okay, self-explanatory. Design patterns are formalized best practices that a programmer can use to solve common problems when designing an application or system. So it is self-explanatory. So it just highlights this is a set of best practices a programmer can use. Okay. So it's pretty clear. So far, according in this presentation, we just looked at what we are going to cover and what is the agenda of this tutorial, and just we started with the definition of design pattern. This is going to be a multi-part series. I'm going to explain about rest of these things, like we'll be talking about the solid principle, design principle, and we are going to talk about the examples of design pattern and all those things in the upcoming presentation. So for now, this presentation ends. I'll continue in the next part of this presentation. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. We will see in the next presentation. Thank you. Bye.